There was a big fallout when Meghan Markle and Prince Harry left the UK. Lots of discussion, Reverend Sharpton, about racism within the media, the accusations that they made towards the coverage that she had faced as part of the royal family. And then you were very outspoken and critical of Jeremy Clarkson's column that he put in again in another national newspaper. He's since apologised to them profusely and tried to explain his scenario. I wonder what your take on that situation was, what Harry and Meghan Markle said that they were facing, and the reaction of the UK media to that relationship.
You know, I think that when they were married, it was a beautiful day.
Right.
And people were celebrating how you saw this woman of color now in the royal family, gospel songs sung at the ceremony, the Queen sitting there. And then the reaction was so much acrimony and just looking to treat her differently. And people, whether you're in the UK or around the world, that was always treated differently, understood what Meghan was going through. It was somebody black working in the C-suites for the first time, and they treat you differently. Or someone walking down the street. And I think she became a symbol not of her own making. When you see the kind of mean-spirited article this guy wrote for no reason, drag her through the streets and all, yeah, fine, you can apologize, and many of us have said things not at that level that we could apologize for, but what makes you feel that you can say that in the first place?
Right.
And I think that in many ways they exposed what was already there, and then people tried to blame Meghan for they are being exposed.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host Miles. So Reverend Sharpton said it plain, no sugar, no soft landing. He basically looked at that whole royal saga and went, yes, I know this pattern. And once he said that, you could not unsee it. Because rewind for a second, that Harry and Meghan wedding, that wedding was massive, not just big, huge. Streets packed, screens everywhere, people waking up early like it was the World Cup. And when Meghan Sussex stepped out, it wasn't just a dress moment, it was a history moment. A black woman in that chapel with that choir singing like Sunday morning had just moved into a castle. Even Queen Elizabeth II sat there, steady, watching something different unfold. People felt it. Don't act like you didn't. Even the I don't care about royals crowd cared that day. It felt like doors were opening, like, okay, maybe this place is changing for real. And that's exactly where Sharpton zoomed in. Because he's like, yeah, that part, that's the welcome face. That's when everyone's clapping, smiling, posting, celebrating you like you're the upgrade. But then comes the next part, the quiet shift. Now you're not exciting anymore. Now you're being watched, measured, adjusted. Maybe tone it down. Maybe do it like this instead. Maybe just fit in a little more. And if you've ever been the only one like you in a room, you already know this dance. You start off being celebrated, then slowly you're being corrected. Same person, different energy. Sharpton did not have to explain it. He just said, this is what happens when someone walks into a space that likes the idea of you more than the reality of you. And when things went left for Meghan, some people were shocked, but others, they were like, here we go. Because we've seen it before, at work, at school, in certain circles. You try, you adjust, you keep it polite, then one day you say, this isn't okay, and suddenly you're the problem. So when Prince Harry and Meghan stepped back, people acted like it was some wild plot twist. But on a street level, it made sense. If the place that celebrated you would protect you, if speaking up turns you into a villain, if your peace is gone, you leave. That's not drama, that's common sense. So yes, Sharpton did not come in big fancy words. He just pointed at the pattern and said, there. And honestly, that's why it hits so hard and differently. Because once you see it, you can't pretend it's just a fairy tale gone wrong anymore. What Jeremy Clarkson and part of the UK tabloids did wasn't just out of pocket. That was ugly. It showed the whole world a cold, inhuman side of the media, like empathy got switched off for clicks. Jeremy Clarkson did not just miss the mark, he went all the way off, writing about humiliating Meghan, a real person who had already said she was struggling, and putting it in a major paper. And that's the key part. This wasn't just one guy. Editors saw it, approved it, sent it out. That's not a mistake, that's a system. Then the backlash hits, thousands of complaints, articles gone, cleanup mode, and people say, Clarkson apologized. Did he though? because a quiet letter to Prince Harry is not the same as owning it publicly with the same energy. That's loud disrespect, followed by a quiet, my bad. But the real question, like Sharpton said, is this: why did it feel normal to write that in the first place? Because that kind of thing does not come out of nowhere. It comes from a space that has been letting smaller disrespect slide for time, and regular people see that for what it is. It's the same energy when jokes go too far, when people pile on, when empathy disappears. So no, it's not just about one article. It's about a culture that got way too comfortable, and that's the part that should worry a lot of people. Reverend Sharpton came in and said what a lot of people were already thinking, but louder. Sharpton basically looked at that whole situation and went, yes, I've seen this movie before. And that's the part that hits differently, because once you strip away the crowns, the horses, the fancy accents, this stops being raw drama and starts looking like a regular Monday at work. You join a new space, everybody smiles, welcome, so happy you're here, you're at the moment, but here's the wake-up call. That excitement can't just be one day highlight reel if the system around it does not change. Because when the cameras move on, when the applause fades, that's when character shows up, not just in people, but in institutions. And that's where journalism comes in. The tabloids can't keep running on shock value and expect trust to stay intact. You don't get to build careers on tearing people down and then act surprised when the public starts questioning everything you publish. What happened here should be a line in the sand. No more casual dehumanizing headlines. No more anything goes if it sells. No more treating real people like content instead of humans. Accountability has to mean something. Editors have to be responsible for what they approve, not just what get clicks. Apologies can't just be PR cleanup after harm is already done, because once you normalize that kind of coverage, it does not stay contained to one person. It spreads. It shapes how people think, talk, and judge others in everyday life. So yes, this is not just about royalty, it's about standards. If journalism wants respect, it has to act like it deserves it. And that means drawing a hard line. Tell the truth, critique fairly, but stop dehumanizing people for entertainment. Because once you lose that line, you don't just lose trust in the media, you lose something bigger. Sharpton was not being dramatic, he was being familiar. Because a lot of people, especially black folks, you know that pattern like muscle memory. The honeymoon phase, then the adjust yourself phase, then the why are you even here phase, and the crazy part, none of it's written down anywhere. There's no handbook. It just happens. That's why when things went left for Meghan, some people weren't shocked at all. They were like, ah, there it is. And then you've got Jeremy Clarkson out here writing madness like it's a casual opinion. And people still want to act like it's just one guy being reckless. No, that's like seeing mold on the wall and saying it's just one spot. No, that means the whole place got issues. Because again, how do you feel comfortable writing that? Comfort does not come from nowhere. It comes from a space that's been letting things slide for time. Little jokes, side comments, dog whistles. Then one day somebody goes full volume and now everybody's acting shocked. Please. And when Sharpton said this is like being the only one in the suit, that landed. Because that feeling, that's not celebrity, that's everyday life. It's being watched extra, judged faster, forgiven slower. And when you finally speak up, now you are difficult, now you are the problem. So yes, this whole situation is not just about Meghan. It's about what happens when someone doesn't shrink to fit a space that quietly expects them to. It's about how fast welcome can turn into watch yourself. And it's about that uncomfortable truth. Some places love the idea of diversity, just not the reality of it. And Sharpton did not dress it up. He just said it straight and as it is, which is probably why it made people so uneasy. Thank you so much guys for watching this podcast. I really hope you enjoyed. I'm your host Miles. I'll catch you in the next episode. Please subscribe to our channel, like, share videos widely and comment below. Love you all and goodbye.